billion. That's how much the grocery industry burns every year on credit card fees. Now, I'm confident that most everyone in this room is familiar with the grocery industry's low net profit margin of about 1.7%. As grocers, we do everything we can to cut costs. We shave as much as possible from our labor budgets. We work hard to lower supply costs, and we watch our shrink like hawks. Let me tell you, grocery buyers are some of the best doers and dealers you'll ever meet. We expect all this effort for a mere 1.7% return, whereas Visa enjoys a net profit margin of upwards of 50%. Visa and the other financial institutions are able to realize such high margins, in part because the grocery industry simply accepts the 1 to 4% credit card transaction fees as a cost of doing business. What if there was a way we could lower those fees to realize higher margins? We believe there is. Good morning. We are the fee fighters. Aaron Carter from PepsiCo, Robbie Teal from Rayleigh's, Aaron Stone from Molly Stone Markets, Rick Williams from Kroger, David Douglas from Bimbo Bakeries, Amber Radcliffe from Albertsons, and I am Belinda Fermenter from the Myers Group. Together, we represent 5 grocers and 2 CPG companies, and combined, we have over 100 years of food industry experience. You see, credit card fees are really just a symptom of a much larger problem, a broken relationship between merchants and our customers. Think about it. As payment systems evolve, banks and credit card companies, in an effort to accelerate commerce, inadvertently found themselves smack dab in the middle of the relationship between retailers and our customers. What's worse, we are literally paying them to do so. So we the people urge you, food industry leaders, to stop accepting credit card fees as simply a cost of doing business. Implement innovative payment solutions to lower your fees, reconnect with your customers, and start more companies down the path to realizing higher margins. In this presentation, we're going to take you on a journey through the past, present, and future of payment systems. We'll reveal why credit cards are so prevalent in the U.S. and how this has broken our relationship with our customers. We're going to discuss payment systems from around the world and explain why they don't really work here in the United States. And finally, we're going to offer you real, tangible solutions that you can implement right now today in your companies. And one built on blockchain that we've coined Affinity that can be set up in the years to come. So let's begin our journey with Amber and the history of payments. As Belinda mentioned, credit card fees are just a symptom of a bigger problem, a broken relationship between the consumer and the merchant. Commerce, at its core, is the exchange of items of value between 2 individuals. Started with bartering, moved into coins, cash, and checks, to where we are today, where credit cards and mobile payments are very much used by our customers. As technology has improved and the need for customer convenience and privacy has increased, the payment system as a whole has turned into an industry. This credit card industry is now profiting from being the middleman between us and the consumer. Credit also began as a relationship of trust. So at one point, merchants allowed credit to farmers and ranchers until they got the profits from their partners at the end of the season. Even the first Diners Club card began as a relationship of trust. A businessman took colleagues out to dinner, forgot his wallet at home, suggested to the club, hey, why don't you offer credit to your members to be paid off at the end of the month? After the Diners Club card became American Express launched their card. Today, the relationship between the consumer and the credit card companies is so sticky because of the numerous rewards that the credit card companies offer their customers. Unfortunately for us, the credit card companies are exploiting this relationship, and we are now paying 1 to 4% in fees to help pay and fund these rewards. David, will you please tell us about the payment system?
So where do these fees come from? Let's look at the credit card value chain. In an ideal scenario, here we see the customer dealing directly with the retailer using cash. This transaction is completed immediately, and there are no delays in the retailer collecting the payment. Now here's the reality. There are multiple players involved. As a result, they are all capturing value and profiting from an average credit card fee of 1 to 4%. These fees are a combination of fixed rates and percentages, which cover processing, assessing, and interchange. The fees vary by retailer and are complicated by design. But what value do these fees bring? While they provide security and networking of funds, there are multiple players involved, and the process is incredibly inefficient. There's an imbalance of value capture, and we need to balance the equation. On average, credit card companies such as Visa and MasterCard have a net income margin of 51%, while the grocery industry has a net income margin of 1.7%. Let's look at an example within our industry. The average basket size in the grocery industry is $49.28. In that typical transaction, the grocery industry profits 84 cents. Now, in that same transaction, the credit card industry earns 99 cents. Can you see why this is a problem? It's time to signal to the credit card industry that you are ready to capture more of the value that you worked so hard to create. Rick, will you please walk us through the current alternative landscape as well as what other countries are doing to combat the issue?
Absolutely. So let's continue the journey on discussion of credit cards and credit card fees. We're going to take you on a journey of alternative payment methods here in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. So let's start within the U.S. Some of you may be aware of Zelle, PayPal, Google Pay. What do they all have in common? Fees. Fees range between 2% to 4%, very similar to credit card fees. Let's go on a journey outside of the U.S. Some you may not be aware of. UPI Pay, located in India, requires a PIN and a bank account in order to do a transaction, but they have 0 fees. Alipay, located in China, only requires a PIN, but no bank account, but requires 55 cents per transaction. Would that work for us in the U.S.? Absolutely not. UPI and Alipay are both governmentally operated. That just wouldn't work for us. We've identified that credit card fees are a problem. They're a problem here in the U.S., they're a problem in China, they're a problem in India as well. Now that we've identified problems, it's time for some recommendations. Aaron, do you have any recommendations?
Absolutely do. Not all retailers have the same negotiating power such as Amazon to get a lower fee, so it's important we get creative. Today I'm going to go through 2 real-world examples of how companies are fighting fees today. First is at the pump, with the 2-tier pricing structure. Second is through the Starbucks mobile app. Customers who pay cash for gas are able to retain the 1 to 4% in their own pockets, leaving valuable money to be spent on important expenses as well as life. What we learned from this example is that customers should have the option to choose which payment they want to do, rather than getting gouged by the banks with excess fee charges. It's time we get together and start fighting these fees. Starbucks is currently fighting these fees by reducing the amount of volume of transactions sent to the credit card companies and banks. A customer must preload $25 onto their account in order to use the app, but those are roughly 5 trips into the store. What we've learned from this is that customers have the option to pay. Think about this. 2% plus a 10-cent fee on a $5 coffee purchase equates to roughly 20 cents in fees, adding up to $1 for every 5 transactions. As David previously mentioned, the grocery industry average basket size is around $50. 2% plus a 10-cent fee on an average basket size of $50 comes out to $5.50 for every 5 transactions. That's too much. As an industry, if we got our most loyal customers to load $250 onto a mobile app, they could use it for around 5 times to the store, and we can reduce the amount of time we rely on the credit card companies by nearly 50%. That's a big deal. Robbie, how can a company get started on this in the future?
So far, we've given you a few viable options that you guys can implement right now today to start lowering your credit card transaction fees. Or at the very least, signal to the credit card industry that we are done accepting these fees at the cost of doing business. Recall the example of Amazon that Aaron mentioned. They announced in the UK they would no longer accept Visa cards. Shortly thereafter, a new deal was announced between Amazon and Visa. The mere threat brought Visa back to the negotiating table, which is a win-win. I'm excited because I get to share with you our vision for the future. The options we've given you so far are all temporary solutions because they don't address the core problem, a broken relationship between customer and merchant. I believe we have a solution to solve that problem. Believe it or not, I'm talking about blockchain. Now, if you're like I was at the start of this project, you might be a little skeptical of blockchain, but you need it. I've heard it described as a spreadsheet in the clouds, and I found that to be an apt analogy. Let me ask you all a question. How many of you truly understand how Microsoft Excel runs? Or for that matter, the computer that Excel runs on, you know how that works. And yet I'm willing to bet every single one of us in this room uses the computer probably every day to improve our lives. Now I'm sure there's some IT folks out there ready to ruin this analogy by explaining to me how the computer works, but I bet I can find a tool in your lives that you use and use well without understanding the operation. Blockchain is a tool, a powerful tool that will allow our industry to break free from the legacy of America's antiquated financial system. So what is it? Blockchain is a distributed public ledger for recording transactions in a trustworthy environment. At its core, it combines complex math and a network of independent users to create trusted environment or trusted relationships in an otherwise untrustworthy world. Blockchain is private. Users interact with the network using encrypted addresses and passwords. No private information needs to be shared unless the user wishes. Blockchain is completely secure. The combination of hash encryption and the distributed nature of the network make the system almost unhackable. Blockchain is incredibly customizable. You can tailor it exactly to the needs of your business. And as you'll hear about in more detail in a few minutes, this makes blockchain so much more than a payment tool. It has applications across merchandising, marketing, even HR. And finally, and possibly most importantly, blockchain is accessible. There are no expensive licenses, no complex hardware needed to develop and deploy a system of this kind. That means implementation is realistic for all of us in this room. And if a group of like-minded businesses were to get together and partner on a system, it would be downright cheap, around there. When thinking about implementation, it's very important to remember that your timeline and costs are going to vary based on the details of the system you wish to design. Because blockchain is so new, the first and most important step is to find an expert to partner with. There are a number of blockchain consultancies already partnering with leaders in the tech industry, including Microsoft and Cisco. We'd be happy to provide you with some names after the presentation. And finally, implementation will be gradual. The features that we'll show you here will be developed and deployed over time, not all. So what does our vision look like? Introducing Affinity, the grocery token of the future, usable as currency in any one of the businesses that chooses to participate in the network. Affinity brings together retailers, their suppliers, their customers, and of course their employees across an industry-wide blockchain network. The retailer sits at the center of this network, facilitating positive interactions between each of the members. The code for Affinity lives in the cloud. A system like Amazon Web Services would be perfectly capable of hosting. But the real magic happens on your phone, where opted-in users can choose to use their phone's computing power to settle and validate transactions that happen anywhere on the Infinity network, and earn customized rewards each time for doing so. I want to underscore that point. No longer would our industry lose money on transaction fees. Instead, we would pay the stakeholders in our businesses, keeping the money inside our network and allowing us to reinvest it in the prosperity of each one. This network will restore that relationship at the core of commerce that we talked about earlier, because it eliminates the middleman. The users of the network now provide the function that the middleman used to. In addition, any member could choose to exchange what they bring of value to the network for affinity tokens. So suppliers, you could exchange your products, employees could exchange your labor, customers would exchange their time, their opinion, and yes, their money. And the retailer said was at the center, ready to serve as market maker and exchanging affinity token for US dollars or vice versa at any time through a click of a button on the same affinity mobile app. Blockchain is scary to a lot of people because it's so new. A lot of the details haven't been written down. But that's what makes it so exciting. We have an opportunity to build a new system, one that allows us to break free from the broken system that we have and allow every member of the supply chain, from supplier to retail to employee to customer, to prosper. We think the best way to really bring this message home is with a few concrete examples, beginning with suppliers. Aaron?
Thank you, Ryan. So how would our spreadsheet in the cloud affinity work in practice? Well, as a Pepsi employee, I'm familiar with the challenge that suppliers and retailers face, especially in the last few years on supply chain. The beauty of blockchain is that it can provide transparency in our supply chain. Imagine a Pepsi employee who knows exactly what products in the back room of a store without physically being there, while at the same time a retailer can see what product is coming and even get visibility to lead times on production. Blockchain makes this possible. We've already seen that Walmart Canada is utilizing blockchain technology with its trucking companies to track shipments and understand logistics data. Secondly, Affinity can provide traceability. The unique digital address assigned to each product can trace a product's life cycle from production to end user. If you've ever dealt with a product recall, you know how challenging and cumbersome that can be. Well, this traceability factor allows us to ensure a safer food supply network. And thirdly, with suppliers and merchants, we can allow for more efficient payment systems. Imagine all the multitude of payment systems we currently have between suppliers and retailers. We can marry those systems onto one shared network that is secure, with the companies deciding what they share. Things like smart contracts can be created where payments are issued automatically once contractual obligations are met. And as Robin stated, it's really important to note that blockchain and our solution Affinity is not only an inventory and payment system. In fact, we can use Affinity to drive engagement with our employees. Things like a monetary incentive that encourages their participation in the network, something like 1% cash back on all purchases made with our token. They can even choose to be paid partially in Affinity token, allowing their income to stretch just a bit further when they spend that token back in our businesses. Secondly, we can utilize Affinity for the administration of employee health benefits. Things like an employee stock option plan can be set up and run through this network. And then finally, we can also allow for participation in company governance. Things like the company wants to know what the employee's opinion is on movements further on in the company in the future. We can allow the technology of blockchain, of crowdsourcing information easily, to really let our employees have a voice in the direction of our company. But all of this is wonderful, but it only really works if we can get our consumers on board to use Affinity as currency in our businesses. So when we thought about how to incentivize them, we thought about three important factors: value, convenience, and experience. And so it starts with that value, again, with that 1% cash back, but it goes further. Utilizing the transparency of data that blockchain and Affinity can provide, we can create really personalized, targeted offers that resonate with each one of our consumers. Convenience, we can invest the money that we are saving from no longer paying the 1 to 4%
in fees to credit card companies and reinvest that into things like scan and go technology, where those that use Affinity can walk right out the door or get free online delivery for their e-com orders. We can also allow for an enhanced experience. Again, that participation in the company direction. Things like what new products the consumers want to see retailers carry to what charitable efforts they want to see them support. This can all, again, be done through Affinity. These are all tangible ways that we can create a true stakeholder mentality with our customers. Again, restoring that relationship and bringing us closer to them. For far too long, we have relied on the credit card industry to meet the demands of convenience and security. And in doing so, the credit card companies have captured value between that relationship between merchant and consumer. You've heard today that Visa and MasterCard earn profit margins of upwards of 50%, and they take $15 billion annually in merchant fees in our industry alone. We urge you to reject the idea that credit card fees have to be a cost of doing business and implement one of the innovative solutions we've shared with you today. It's time to recapture that value and restore the relationship between merchant and consumer. Thank you for your time. We're happy to answer any questions.
Hi, yes, very well done. Thank you. You mentioned the industry working together and partnering on blockchain. How do you envision us partnering with each other to make it work?
Thank you for your question. While all the solutions that we presented here today can be implemented independently, it would make sense for a group of retailers to want to work together to lower costs even more. And there is a precedence for that. In 2012, many merchants got together to form a consortium. Merchants such as Walmart, Target, Best Buy, CVS, and many others. They funded a new mobile payment method called MCX, which stands for Merchant Consumer Exchange. Ultimately, this venture failed because of security issues, but blockchain isn't hindered by the same security issues. It's virtually unhackable. So if merchants wanted to get together to form a blockchain payment method, it has a limitless potential for success. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. My question is about Affinity, and it's, is it a token? Is it currency? And how do you value it? Is it one for one with a US dollar or whatever the local currency might be? Or do you envision it as a currency like Bitcoin that may fluctuate and have its value be impacted by external things?
Great question. I think when we were envisioning the system, it would start as a one-to-one peg, but the blockchain network we described is a proof of stake model, which allows the coin to fluctuate in value. So over time, it would begin to decouple from the dollar, but at the beginning it would be one-to-one. Over time, as more and more users use the network, the value of the coin can actually increase beyond the value of the US dollar, as you have a situation where your customers or your suppliers, your stakeholders in your system can actually earn better money within the system than they can outside of it. So it's got some interesting applications, but in the beginning, to simplify, it would be a one-to-one peg as well.
Thank you, Team Empires.